What would you tell someone that has a $50 million net worth and it's entirely invested in Apple stock? You'd probably tell them that that's crazy and they should diversify. But what if I introduce you to my friend Justin? And Justin also has a $50 million net worth, and it's entirely invested in the company that he built. What would you tell Justin? You might say, congratulations, what an accomplishment. You're going to scale it to 100 million? What's next for you? Well, you certainly wouldn't tell him he's crazy. And you likely wouldn't tell him to diversify. Why is that? Does Justin's manufacturing company really have less risk than Apple? Arguably the most successful company of all time? It's fascinating when you think about it. Now, why is that? If you're a business owner or entrepreneur, you might already feel the word. It's one word: control. When we have control over our business, our perception of risk goes down. It's fundamentally why it's so difficult for an entrepreneur to invest in the stock market, because they have a low level of control, resulting in a high perception of risk. Exactly the opposite of their business. Now, the reality of this situation might be quite different, but this is the perception. Now, when someone has, in this case Justin, such a different approach towards how they invest, how they love control, how they take on risk, shouldn't they have an equally fundamentally different approach to how we plan for them? How we look at their situation? I've been fascinated by entrepreneurs. And as I saw these different dichotomies, I wanted to know what other dichotomies existed, what other dilemmas they were dealing with. I've been in practice for 18 years. I started at 20 years old, and I'm fascinated with the entrepreneurial mind. I've dedicated my career towards serving specifically entrepreneurs. And I've had over 1,000 conversations with entrepreneurs about their journey, how they built it, how they think, how they see risk, what's important to them. And I've noticed that they see things through a totally different lens. And as I was watching them and helping them plan through their lens, I was also going through my own entrepreneurial journey. So it was almost as though I was having this mirror conversation so many times. And about 7 to 10 years ago, I had a few engagements that completely changed the trajectory of my career and changed my life. I met a group of entrepreneurs that had reached the summit of success. They had sold their companies for $20 million, $50 million, $100 million, even $500 million. Companies that they had started from scratch. But amidst the financial freedom that they had, many of them, most of them, were struggling. They were struggling with their identity. They were struggling with their next act. They were struggling with the financial and wealth and life dilemmas that they were facing post their exit. And in this situation, it made me hyper aware that wealth is a means, not an end. And if you're not incredibly clear about what your end is, no matter how much goes in the cup, it's never going to feel like it's enough. Seeing these business owners go through this situation crushed me, because I saw individuals that had spent a lifetime to great freedom and independence, but were unable to enjoy the fruits of their labor. The analogy that comes to mind for me is a mountain climbing analogy. If I were to ask all of you, what's the goal of climbing a mountain? Most of you would say, to get to the top. When in reality, the true goal of climbing a mountain is to get to the top and to get back down safely. Now, while that might sound obvious, 80% of accidents that happen when climbing, they don't happen on the way up. They happen on the way down. Because we're so focused on reaching that goal, reaching the summit, that we forget to plan for what comes after the descent. And this uniquely reminds me of the business owner's journey. They're climbers, they're builders, they're growers, constantly focused on reaching the summit. But very few of them have a plan for once they get there. They don't know how thin the air is going to be. And they don't realize that 80% of the accidents happen on the way down. And this might be for business owners that are exiting their company, or this might be for business owners that one day hit the success they dreamt of through cash flow, through income, through net worth. It doesn't just manifest with the exit, but the exit's the most significant part of it. So when I worked with these business owners 7 to 10 years ago and I saw these struggles, it terrified me because I felt like I was on the same trajectory. I felt like my cup would never be full. So it took me down a journey to discover more, emotionally, psychologically, personally, for business owners, to learn from them, to help them, to grow together. And I took all of this information and all of this work, and I started to synthesize it. And what came together over those years, from probably 15 years of guiding and advising entrepreneurs, bringing a system together, a framework. The reason this is so challenging is because a framework doesn't necessarily exist for a business owner to see all the pieces. So I created a framework, and it's called the Wealth Integration System for Entrepreneurs. The nickname for it is WISE. And Gino Wickman, who spoke to us yesterday, he was an early collaborator on my book. And when he read the book, he said, "Ali, WISE is like EOS for a business owner's personal wealth. Allows me to see through these pieces together." So from a business owner's perspective, their mind isn't thinking about, I need to get this legal document, I need this insurance policy, I need to be overweight emerging markets in my portfolio. They're not thinking about those things. Business owners, from their standpoint, they're dealing with 3 dilemmas. And I find that 90% of the mental real estate in a business owner's mind, when it comes to planning their life's work, surrounds around these 3 dilemmas. The first dilemma is the reinvestment dilemma. I've been successful in my company. I've made great profits. Do I reinvest back in my business? Do I invest in another business, in private equity, in the stock market, in bonds, in cash, in crypto? What is my best reinvestment strategy? The second dilemma is a deeper one. It's the legacy dilemma. What is it all for? Some owners have built more wealth than they'll ever personally consume. Is this for my children? Is this for charity? Is this for fun? Is this for my ego? Will my wealth be a source of empowerment for my family or a source of entitlement for my family? It's the legacy dilemma. And the third dilemma is the exit dilemma. Should I grow my business or should I sell it? Should I leave it for my son or daughter? Do I sell it to my executive team? If I sell my company, will I suddenly have the freedom to pursue my life's purpose? Or will I have just sold my life's purpose? This is the exit dilemma. Our clients, our business owners, their minds are swimming around these dilemmas. That's the angle that they're coming from. But when they walk into our offices, when they look for guidance, they're not coming in to solve the dilemmas. They're coming in, I need to get a will. I need to invest this capital. I'm selling my business. I need to go through a process. And it's our job to dig deeper. It's our job to bring more pieces together. And I've been inspired by so many people the last 2 days at this conference that have spoken about some of the concepts I'm about to touch on, and how collectively we need to care more, go deeper, dig deeper, give more. Now there's 3 things that I think will tremendously impact the work that we do in helping guide, advise, and provide services to entrepreneurs. The first is empathy. The second is intentionality. And the third is integration. Empathy towards recognizing and seeing who they are, where they've been, how they built it, and recognizing the fact that they're an anomaly. Most businesses don't make it to 10 years. 90% of companies won't make over $100,000 of profit, and we're helping people that might make millions of dollars. Do you realize how much of an anomaly that is in the marketplace? 4% of the population are entrepreneurial. We're dealing with a fraction of that 4%. Sometimes we've got to give witness to what it is that they've built and recognize that so they know that we see them, we recognize them. The second component is intentionality. Many amazing comments have been made around that, including preceding my talk today. Intentionality is the state of being of constantly knowing and digging deeper into what you truly want. Why? Entrepreneurs will give you an answer. It's our job to ask that next question, to dig deeper, to find the purpose behind things. You see, most entrepreneurs, they didn't start their business with this huge intentional plan of market strategy and business penetration and capital needs. No. Most entrepreneurs, when they were between 9 and 14 years old, they started a lemonade stand or a lawn mowing business. And then when they got to their 20s, they started their company by accident because an opportunity showed up. And they started the climb, and they started climbing using every muscle they have in their body, every day waking up thinking about the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And they started to form a habit of just constantly growing and building. And when they finally reach a point where they actually have the capital and the wealth to be able to change that journey, maybe have a life experience that isn't so challenging, that's not 60, 70 hours a week, they have a hard time slowing down because their subconscious behavior has already formed these habits. And if we don't give them a path or a plan to slow down and be able to enjoy the journey a little more and not just have constant burn, as so many speakers have just talked about, they're not going to have the life experience they desire. A huge part of this is intentionality. Why? Why are you building this? What is this for? Because I believe that if you can invest not just for return on investment, or you can plan not just for return on investment, but for return on life experience, you're going to create a totally different outcome for the owner. So one of the things I like to do is to dig deeper to find what is it that really motivates you? What is it that really excites you? Yesterday we saw Phoenix Children's Hospital here. Well, maybe an entrepreneur, if they could see their position more clearly, and they know if they have a lake versus a pond, they might realize, you know what, I've got enough wealth to secure my family. I have all this excess. Rather than leaving that excess in a document when I die, life's greatest gift is giving. What if I were to use that to make greater impact while I'm alive? Maybe $365,000 a year could be $1,000 a day for Phoenix Children's Hospital, and someone could live that dream of being able to give and experience what it is that they want. Or maybe it's more time with family, children, grandchildren. But the only way that's going to happen is if someone shows them the path to who they are, how they got there, how they can plan, and how they can have that future life experience. And the third component is integration. Integration and collaboration. And not just integration, collaboration with this peer group. Integration and collaboration with the business owner directly. Co-creating goals so they have buy-in. Integration and collaboration with their spouse and children. Helping understand what really matters. Integration and collaboration with our internal teams, our external teams. And then making sure that that intention that we have from a business owner translates into their planning. Yesterday, someone asked a question about ikigai, which is a Japanese concept meaning reason for being. I use this concept, I write about it in my book, and I describe this because I use it heavily with business owners going through an exit, helping them figure out their reason for being, what their purpose, what their mission, what their cause is, what are hobbies, what's business pursuit. And I do the exact same exercise with one other group of people. It's people, students leaving college, saying, "Hey, Ali, I'd like some mentorship from you. Can you help me figure out what I want to do with my life?" And the same ikigai concept that I cover with them, I cover with business owners exiting their business. Because they're in a unique position where they can redefine their life experience and their purpose. So creating that intentionality, then creating the integration with the teams and ensuring it's actually getting executed, you're changing the outcome for owners. And the reason so many of these decisions are so challenging for business owners is because the decisions are both a life decision as well as a wealth decision. And business owners are so emotionally connected to their business, it can be overwhelming. It's our job to help them show the path, or show them the path. So with that all being said, the big motivator, the big thing that I want us to start thinking about is every time you're working with a business owner, don't just think about planning their wealth to maximize ROI or return on investment. I want you to think about planning their wealth with ROLE in mind, the role they want, which is their return on life experience. And I think by focusing on return on life experience, you're going to allow a business owner to recognize a dream that they once had of how they wanted to live or who they wanted to be before they got on the treadmill, and give them the pathway and the ability to truly live and experience their joy. Now, if I've got I've got 5 minutes, but I'm going to take 2 of them. If you could put the code up on the screen. So, a few years ago, I decided there was a bit of a gap in the marketplace, and there wasn't a pathway for business owners to really get independent perspective on a lot of these decisions, free of anything else, no services attached to it, but true education and coaching, not connected to money management, tax services, legal services, etc. So I wrote this book, The Business Owner's Dilemma, to kind of appeal to the business owner from their angle, help them understand their position. And there's a workshop program that we've built, and we're now looking to build a collaboration with a beta group with other advisory firms of any kind that might have a shared interest in this message. So if what you heard today, what I talked about, this wealth integration system, these dilemmas, this pathway, this collaboration, if that really resonates with you, I'd love to connect with you. And if you scan the code, there's a pathway to connect. I won't get a chance to meet all of you this evening, hopefully many of you. But if what I said today resonates with you, I'd love to connect with you further, and that's the pathway in which to do it. And I'll close with this comment. And this is the first time I've said this comment on stage, because it's somewhat extra vulnerable for me. So my dream, my vision, as I've worked with business owners all these years, is that I find that all of us, or at least most of us, we had a 10-year-old dream. When we were 10 years old, we dreamt of making a difference in the world. Whether it's hunger, whether it's water, whether it's impact for children in a community or village or an orphanage. Like, we had some passionate reason to say, I want to change the world. And a lot of times as we start working, decade goes by, 2 decades goes by, for many of you 3, 4, 5 decades go by, and we forget about that 10-year-old dream to impact the world. And my mission, my belief, my purpose, my calling, and what I'm dedicating the next 10 years of my life to, maybe longer, is to help empower business owners to see their position and their wealth with a new lens, and help them create that life experience and life impact that they truly desire. Because if they realize, hey, I have enough, and I now have the perspective on why, there might be all this excess that can make a massive impact in the world, a massive change to humanity and society. And my dream is to help impact or change the outcome or impact the business owner so that we can impact the world. Because what better community to make an impact to than those who have incredible means to be able to create incredible impact? I challenge you to think about, what's your dream? Thank you.